What is up, everybody? On this episode, we're talking about two 25-year-olds who've raised $17 million from the likes of Peter Thiel and James Harden to build Etsy for digital products, and they've already done $300 million in sales. Next up, we have two brothers who are making millions in crypto without buying a single coin. They built Duolingo for Web3 and have over 750,000 users across the world. And just to remind you all what you're listening to, I'm Michael Zakand. I'm joined by my co-founder, Simi Sandhu, and we sold our media company to Morning Brew last year and now host this podcast where we study and profile the most successful young entrepreneurs and tell you all what they're building and extract out their insights and business models so that you can apply them to your own venture. So the boy Simi Sandhu is going to give us the first story, and I'm excited to dive into this one.
All right, let's do it, man. So for our first story today, we have these three guys in their early to mid-20s, Steven Schwartz, Jack Sharkey, and Cameron Zaub. They've raised over $17 million from investors like Peter Thiel, the Chainsmokers, and James Harden to build the Etsy for digital goods. Their company is called Whop, and it's a marketplace where you can buy and sell digital products like software or apps, or even buy access into communities and courses. And what I think is great about this is their story is super cool. So Steven and Cameron had started a ton of side hustles. I think Steven was on record saying that he started 23 side hustles before he landed on Whop. And these guys were internet rich. I mean, at a point in high school, Cameron bought himself a Tesla Model S and then he dropped out. He's like, you know what? High school, not for me anymore. I've made some money. You have Steven, though. He went a little bit more of the traditional route. After college, he ended up going to Accenture, and what he realized, like, these consulting companies were making a ton of money from IT and providing those services. So he teamed up with his boy Cameron. He's like, let's go start an IT agency. They were doing over 100K in sales. Before they were like, listen, agency money is great, but I want to go do something way cooler.
100K
and so,
in sales per month, or in
100K in sales per month. That's right.
That's solid. That's fire.
Yeah. So they grew it really quickly, but they ultimately wanted to start, a bigger business. And so I believe Cameron came to Steven one day and he was like, I'm trying to sell this software. And they were looking at like this marketplace that existed at the time, but they didn't think it was very good. So they were like, let's go start our own and see what we can do with it. And what ended up happening is, 3 months in, they weren't getting very much traction. And so they were kind of like, you know what, maybe this idea doesn't really have merit to it. So I'm just going to say, screw it and not work on it. But something within them was like, let's just keep this going. And, after month 3, the business took off. So, they were at this interesting point where they had an acquisition offer come in. And they were very tempted to sell the business. And so they hit up one of their early investors, this guy named Corey Levy, and was like, hey, should we sell the business? Do we keep running it? What do we do? Corey's like, you know what, guys, I'm going to intro you to one of the co-founders of Tinder. So they have a meeting with this guy and he's like, don't be stupid. Do not sell this company. And so they ended up heeding his advice and, they ended up raising this fat Series A. Now the business has done over $4 million in revenue this past year. And they've processed over $300 million in transactions. So, super cool story. I think these guys are building something really, really big here, and it'll be fun to watch along with their journey.
This was our Corey Levy, like the Z Fellows guy.
This is the
Z Fellows guy. Invested in every Gen Z startup.
That's right.
Got it. Okay. He's got his nose in every good Gen Z company. Damn, these boys know how to make a pretty penny. They know how to make some cash. Like, they really built like the epitome of like what made them successful as teenagers, which is like to sell a course, like to learn how to drop ship, like to sell a piece of software, like some kind of like fun little product. I looked on Whop. So I went on Whop and I was reading the Fast Company article, and it's like, this platform is overwhelmingly male. 17 to 25. Aggressive and hungry to make cash and fast.
Yeah, dude. There's a lot of alignment between our future podcast and their audience here. Overwhelmingly male and then looking to make a buck.
Wait, Whop should be our presenting sponsor.
They might need to be. Yeah.
I was looking at like all the different things you could buy, and it's like Giga Chad University and like how to be an alpha 101 and like how to make $10,000 a month on TikTok. To be honest, all the content in here feels like and this just like at first glance like feels very like Iman Gadzhi, Andrew Tate, like drop shipper, promising these unreasonable expectations on people, these Discord communities, all this stuff. And it seems they've centralized it into a platform, and clearly there's a ton of demand for it. But it's almost like it's like everyone's scratching each other's back. It's like homie's got his drop shipping course, and then buddy's gonna buy his TikTok course, and they're all like circulating their products together on Whop.
Yeah.
It's
Dude,
like
I
this
think
insular
they're like the
community.
perfect people to be building this business. They have created a business that they would have used while they were building these side hustles. I totally could have seen them creating these courses. And I think it's an interesting thing where the closer you get to the vices, the more lucrative the opportunities are. I mean, like sports betting seems to be like a big thing on this platform. You've got a lot of crypto stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
some folks are making a lot of money at the expense of others. But it's the same reason, like why you have companies like an OnlyFans that does so well, right? It's just like there
Right.
is money in this stuff, and inherently where there's
This is like
a market, there's opportunity.
this is like OnlyFans for like internet hustlers. That's like I think that's a better description than Etsy for Amazon, because you're like chasing these idols almost just like you do on social media, and like you want to follow all their advice and make money just like them. I think it's a very lucrative business if you can capitalize on consumer psychology to like think they can make a quick buck. And
I
like
think
maybe people are
have
like
to be
profiting
making
through these
money,
communities.
right? The
Yeah, there's
way
no
these
way
things
everyone's
get
just losing
traction.
it.
Yeah, the way these things get traction is like someone has made a lot of money. Someone makes 100K, $1 million, and then they tell all their friends, right? And then before you know it, it's blowing up in Discords. It's blowing up on Money
Yeah.
Twitter. And then like the platform's just growing like crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would think that so kind of what makes it so you don't need to like I guess create content to attract people to your course, your product anymore. Like you can actually like get discovered through an organic marketplace, right? Like I assume they'll probably roll out advertising in the future. There's like a trending section, almost like Product Hunt for like, courses, hacks, software products, sports betting picks. Like it's cool. It's like a new level of like youth. It's like a new realm to youth entrepreneurship. Like,
Totally. I think
I
they
have this
pick,
little
the
skill. I have
highest
this little
leverage
hustle. Like,
opportunity within this creator economy space, which is, I guess, being the picks and shovels, right? It is, hey, any idea that you might have, any business you want to
right.
start, let us help you facilitate that. And
Yeah.
to the point you're making, which is the curation aspect, which is you don't need to build a big following or audience. It's great if you got one, but you can organically be discovered, and you can do a lot of business if you have a good idea. And that's the cool part of it.
Dude, I heard about that like Discord and like Telegram. Like there's some huge businesses being built in communities on those apps. And like I think this platform will really benefit from being agnostic. Like it's not just for IG courses, it's not just for creators, it's not just for Discord. Like it really is like this slew of platforms, right? That people are making money with. So
Yeah.
there's multiple different forms that this stuff takes. It could be a Chrome extension you install. Like I saw a ton for like Amazon deals and discounts, right? Like almost like a little version of Honey. So it really is like this young, dorm room in the basement of your mom's house, trying to get out, buy your Tesla. Like that's the essence of this platform. I wonder if they intended for it to be among this audience, because I would have thought there was a lot of competition in the space. If you could look at Sam Cart, like we know the founder of that, they're like a Series A or Series B company. There's Gumroad, which is also huge for selling digital products. There's definitely a few more, but I think they really just they're really winning with this particular niche of like products that are like life hacks and like make more money, and like I don't know, it's just a very Gen Z hustler young man type platform they've built around this audience.
You got to imagine it's somewhat intentional though, right? That is the audience that they personally know, and have built products around. I mean, I think one of the first side hustles they had was a sneaker bot. That is totally young money, male, prevalent kind of consumer base. So Yeah, I think they were intentional about it. It goes to show though that like even in super competitive areas, like just niching down, you will always find, if you can find like the right buyer, you can still build a really, really big business. Like, yes, it's male dominated and it's just 17 to 25, but they processed $300 million worth of transactions, right? And these guys are still like, I think Steven just turned 25 or something, right? It's
Yeah,
crazy.
they're young as hell.
Yeah.
They're young as hell. I mean, also their investors are crazy. I don't know what chain smokers Peter Thiel and James Harden can possibly have in common, but clearly it's an interest in this platform.
Yeah.
Uh,
Tons of cloud, I guess. I thought that the business was probably closer to like an AppSumo where you just like bought
yeah,
software and maybe you got it at a discount, but it's not exactly that. It's very, very different. Um,
dude,
you know,
I love
yeah,
this one's popping off. It's Book of Alpha. Make easy money from the comfort of your home.
yeah. What do you think the sticking power for something like this is? Do you think this is like, it's one of those things where I don't know, like no one really builds affinity towards the people who are creating these products. And so it's just like, it's easy to get knocked off. You're having to, like maybe you have like a few days where you're really hot, your product's doing really, really well, and then it just kind of fizzles out. Do you think it's one of those things like, as a maybe like a customer of this platform and as someone who is like listing my own products or communities or whatever, like there's not that much staying power there?
I agree with you. I think it's hard to build true affinity when you're trying to help people make a quick buck on the internet through a product.
Yeah.
Um, you know, you have a limited window to make that happen for them, and then they can churn fast. Then the worst is that they become disgruntled and come after you on social media and tell their friends not to buy your shit, like whatever. So I agree with you. I like I've heard of people who've bought like Iman Gadzhi's course and been like, damn, like who to like make an agency, and it's like damn, like I don't like I feel like this was just a waste of money. And then it's like on to the next thing. It's like, okay, you have your agency, like okay, now how are you going to get into like the best clubs and like have a Rolex? Like it's like a constant kind of Ferris wheel in this particular niche and community
Yeah.
of like it's never enough, and then you're always going to find some other way to like buy this course or like reinvest your profits. And at the end of the day, a lot of people will not succeed like
Right.
following these people's sports bets. Like pretty insane to like, but honestly it feels a lot like Whoop. It's like this is like Dub. This is a creator economy for digital products. Like truly, right? What I find is interesting is that none of these products are like anchored by a creator. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the products on here are being pushed by people on social media, but when I look at them, they're just the kind of at face value. And I think that's interesting because I would think you would need the trust of like a creator that you've been watching and understanding to like make a purchase on one of these products. But it looks like the mechanic of like peer reviews and 5 stars on Whop is like a way to create social proof. But I think it's really interesting because you'd never see any of these products sold anywhere without a creator behind them or pushing them.
Well, I'm sure they've, implemented their growth hack tactics here, right? There's probably some stuff, I think like if you've created a sneaker bot at some point, like I know tons of people who have done that, like in their early teens or whatever, like they
Yeah.
are hustlers by nature. And I wouldn't be surprised if like, they found some viral loop or they found a few really creative angles that most people weren't thinking of to like help this platform grow quickly. Now, I think that said, I think they nailed it in that like they are in the generating revenue business for, creators and internet
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
And I think helping people make money is the best game that you can be in, right? And I think that another analogy of this is the guys over at Fanfix. It's not, exactly similar, but the premise was like let us help, creators make more money from their fans. And I think that kind of business just inherently does well. Like, hey, we're gonna help you just make more money, and
Yeah.
it's way easier to convince people to sign on, give you a chance because, like, what do they have to lose? Like, if they join this platform, like, the worst thing they did is, or the worst thing that happened is like they wasted their time and they didn't sell anything.
Yeah.
But there's like
Yeah.
no risk.
What happens when like I guess like the apprentice can become the master? Like I'm gonna learn this guy's like sports betting strategy and then I'll just launch my own WAP like product. You know what I mean? Like it's very like circular, I guess.
Well, that's probably what they want, right? It's
That's
like
probably what they want. They
in
want
some
users of,
aspect, yeah, you don't want to be the product that's like assume there was one, I don't know, course focused on like being an alpha or like teaching people how to be an alpha. And it
yeah,
was like the top rated course. And that was the only thing that was selling for like 6 months, right? It was like everyone was buying the same exact course. That's not exactly in their incentive. They need more people making courses. And, there's got to be some level of competition. And like, you got to keep making new stuff to stay on top. And that's kind of that loop that they can create or at least kind of invoke to make sure people are creating and buying and all that stuff.
yeah. I'm looking at a course here by Diego Day. Diego Day invites you to the truth. The truth. Upgrade every conceivable metric of your life as a man and allow success to come naturally. Fuck, I'm buying that shit. That sounds good.
You might have to hit up Diego and see if he can give you a deal after that little shout out there.
It's true.
But like, all jokes aside, this is not the kind of business you could start without raising money. So for all the folks who are listening who are kind of like more in that bootstrap mentality, I think building a marketplace is like one of the hardest things you can do because it's like you're almost building two businesses at once. Like you have to facilitate the supply side and the demand side simultaneously. And so I think that kind of, from a competitive standpoint, it actually helps them, right? It's like they've already got top tier people on their cap table. They've already raised a lot of money. It's not like, someone can just raise more and then shake this up per se. Like, so yeah, I think this is what kind of, defends them a little bit from another hustler start in their dorm room trying to start the same thing. Is like, it's actually just really, really hard to kind of, supplement this kind of business.
Yeah, I would also say, disintermediation might also be a risk. I know they take like a cut. So whatever it is, like 2.5, probably 3% is what I would guess. They want to make sure that their fees don't get higher. I saw a graph by DoorDash where their take gets higher and higher over time in terms of like facilitating food orders, right? So that's just how marketplaces go. Venture pressure, successive rounds. You just need to make more money. So they need to be careful of not becoming like Twitch, which is where like all these creators left because they started like reducing their ad revenue share and all this stuff. And that's how Kick emerged.
Yeah.
So they need to make sure that nobody just comes in and sweeps them away and replaces them by becoming too much of the bad guy as the business intermediary. So I would also assume that a lot of people like wouldn't even want to give Whop a cut because they could just be processing, these transactions on their own link in bio page or their own website. I'm sure there's a ton of creators who are like, why would I need to use Whop? I have this huge audience, constantly getting them to buy my products. There's no need for me to be on there.
Okay. So 2 questions for you. 1, would you invest in this business? And 2, who do you think would buy this business? Like who would be the ideal, acquisition, partner for this?
Look, I think the dream of like being able to make money as a young man and like all the social media creators who are trying to like harden up this generation of entrepreneur and man, like, I think it's very valid. I just don't resonate as much with this kind of entrepreneurship. I don't know if I would invest in it. I don't know if this is like the kind of entrepreneurship I would advise young people to pursue. But I could be wrong. It's not my style of business by any means. Like
helping young people get rich. You're almost surprising me here. I feel like that would totally been your MO.
I don't know. I'm never like a get rich quick guy though. I'm like, look at this billionaire who's made like, this is the moves he made over 30, 40 years.
I was saying as we sold this business in less than 3 years. I actually don't think it's a bad idea. Like if you're young, like especially in your high school and college, and this is like your first way of, or like first entry point into starting a business, like it's not bad. You learn a lot. Like how do you market well? How do you create something that people will actually buy? Like how do you build a team around yourself? So yeah, it's probably not the thing that's going to get you on the cover of Forbes, but that could be good learnings. And, maybe
you
pay for a Tesla Model S along the way.
Yeah, I'm out of there. Phew, phew.
All right. You want to hit us with the next story?
So I'm going to tell you about these brothers, Phil and Dom Kwok. They've made millions in crypto without buying any coins. So they have over 750,000 people using their mobile app, EasyA. And you can think of it like Duolingo for Web3. These guys have a pretty awesome story. So Phil finished top of his class at Cambridge and became one of the youngest people to pass the New York bar. Then Dom, his brother, went to Wharton, worked at Blackstone, and then became one of Uber founder Travis Kalanick's first hires for cloud kitchens. So after college and while they were working in these traditional industries, they both fell in love with Web3 and crypto. But they saw a huge problem. There weren't quality developers entering the crypto arena, and it was holding the industry back because everybody was betting on these store of value coins and shit coins, but like, where was the actual utility, right? That's what they believed in, and as having crypto change the way we buy things, the way we sell things, the way we transact, communicate, hold property, etc. So that's exactly why they started EasyA. They wanted to make learning development of various blockchains super easy and really fun and digestible. So they, with their app now, they have some of the biggest blockchains in the world who are customers. So, for example, Solana and Polygon pay EasyA millions to bring in developers to learn their blockchain protocols. And why do they do that? Because they want good developers in their ecosystem that are building applications and startups that enhance the value of their ecosystem and therefore the value of those digital assets, those coins. What I think is really cool about these guys is they host massive hackathons around the world every single month. And they give $10, $20, $30,000 to students who win with their startup ideas. They're almost doing a Shark Tank-like approach every single month. And some of the developers who've won EasyA hackathons have gone on to raise millions from like Y Combinator, A16Z. So yeah, the company's fully bootstrapped to my knowledge. And I just think it's really interesting. I thought it was a good time to mention it now that crypto's kind of coming back and is more being talked about.
For sure. I mean, I think it's a good business too. I mean, I have my reservations about the crypto space in general. But I think they've skirted those lines, which is they found all of the safe things that they can do and make a lot of money while doing it. So kudos to them. I mean, I think they executed well. Being the provider of saying, hey, we're actually like instilling, crypto literacy or blockchain literacy in the space, and we're actually encouraging healthy behavior for these developers. I think that is like, what a Solana would want to hear, maybe the bigger institutions involved in the space. No wonder they're spending this kind of money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your protocol or your blockchain is only as good as the people who work on it, right? So, I mean, but that's also any business. If you can think about EasyA, right? What have they done? How could this be applied to other industries? Obviously, Web3 is a great example. And I know there were businesses that did this for Web2. Think of like coding boot camps that they then just shilled out those people, almost like mini universities, and just shilled out the talent then out to software companies to go and build product, or incubators, right? So they're doing kind of like the same thing as they're arming a generation, a massive user base with skills to then go and work in this industry. So I just saw an interesting business. There's been a lot of talk lately about labor shortages, especially in the healthcare field. So like nursing, medical assistants, et cetera. So I just saw this startup that just raised millions in a seed round. And what they're doing is creating this kind of online university educational modules for young people to become pharmacy assistants or medical assistants. And the employers are all the ones who are paying for that because they need talent. And I think it's a really interesting lens to look at how you can be a provider of information to connect talent to hiring party, right?
Well, it's also just a good filter too, right? Because if they've gone through the entire module or the entire course or whatever that looks like, there's some level of intent that is built into it, right? It's the same thing of like getting certifications on LinkedIn and then trying to go shop those around
Yeah.
when you're trying to get your new job, right? It's like, oh, I took this certification and I did this course. And it's like, okay, well, clearly this person cares, right? Like they're trying to build a career in this space. And like that's something that you can just that it takes it to the next level, right? When you're thinking about your own candidates and the kind of people you're trying to hire.
Right. Having like an extra stamp, right?
Yeah.
Obviously we have the stamps that we can't change or that are hard to change or hard to get, which are like going to Harvard, just like these guys did, right? Going to a good, like having a good GPA, right? Like all these different things of like getting a job, but then like these extra stamps that you can add on to make yourself more competitive and meet more of like, like these heuristics. So like, but think about like crypto, right? Like if EasyA can be the Harvard of being a crypto developer, right? Then they've essentially become this, like what we talked about before, and it's like being a badging company is so key. If having like the EasyA certification or the EasyA degree is what can get you to raise funds from one of these protocols to build a project or to get hired by a company in the industry, that's going to be a massive advantage for EasyA to be almost like the certifying agency for young people who want to get involved in the crypto business, especially in a space where there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. There's not a lot of like strong institutions and educational programs, right, for this really massive industry, especially one that's mired in like controversy and like, kind of like bad actors. Like being able to have like a
there's
trusted
institutional
brand
money coming into this
key.
space. I mean, with the whole ETF thing, I think there is some level of legitimization that's taking place. I was going to make a joke when you were saying moving, step away Winklevoss twins, because they just paid out this fat settlement that was like they had to return $1 billion to their customers, and they had like a $40 million fine. Like very recently, I was like, they already did step away. Like,
yeah, they're out.
Yeah,
Those boys
like,
are
take a
out.
hike. It's crazy to me that they didn't raise any money for this. I mean, they have the pedigree to do so. And I
Yeah, they
think their
do.
special talented is like just going very viral. I looked and they both have like pretty big
900,000 followers.
Yeah.
900,000 followers on TikTok, which is probably
what you
how they
kind of
got all
have to
their.
do with this like consumer style ed tech play. You just got to make sure, everybody knows about it and like they're using your platform.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the EasyA, like just think of more industries it could be applied to. Like I mentioned, like medicine, that's one. I also
would
think
say
there's
anywhere where there's a labor shortage of some kind, you could apply.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the trades, right? Like obviously you're not going to be able to learn how to be a plumber like with EasyA or like with an app, but well, you might be a plumber if crypto crashes. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You could at least be introduced to various fields. Like you could just answer it, like do aptitude tests for like what trade you might be best in, or like, I don't know, learn about, how much money you can make. It's almost just like a career guide to a bunch of different spaces. And then what the app does is just refer people to like trade schools, right? And then takes a cut of, referring them or whatever, vocational.
In some ways, it is kind of a B2B model, though, right? Like it is these, Solana and these big institutions that are paying them, right? So it is like, yes, they've nailed the consumer side, but it's not the consumers who are paying, at least to my understanding. It is like the big firms are paying, and it's like that. Dude, that I can get behind with.
Yeah, dude, I love B2B to C. Like it's just it's just better. Like give a great product to a consumer and have a big corporation on the hook for it. Like I just think that's the best way to do it. And that's the easiest way to build a consumer company, is to have someone else paying for it other than the person who's using the product. It's hard enough to get users. Making them pay for something is a whole nother battle.
For sure.
I love, if I were to build a consumer business, I would figure out a way to make it B2B to C. Like I really would. Because people already pay for a lot of shit in their lives. Of course, if you build something valuable, they're willing to pay for it. But I don't know, just providing immense value to consumers goes a really long way.
Did they tell you what's next on the product roadmap? Like, what are they hoping to achieve? What's their North Star?
Their North Star, they've always said, is to bring 1 billion developers into Web3.
That may take them a while. Yeah.
That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people, but you asked for the North Star. It's a hell of a North Star right there. I mean, I just want to note though, like these businesses, for some reason, Simi, the businesses we pick are always, in some way linked. You're also the same advertising to get people into Whop is the same advertising that gets people into EasyA, and that you're promising people the ability to learn a new skill, right? You're the ability to make money. So that's what this is, right? So if you're building a consumer product and you want to grow fast, look at EasyA and look at Whop and look at what they've done, and that they're promising a brighter future to young people who want to learn new skills and make money. And that's a really powerful thing right now, especially as university gets more expensive, as entrepreneurship becomes a more, promising path and an interesting path for young people, as technology levels the playing field, right? I guarantee you there's dozens, hundreds of different plays, thousands of plays you can make to help a Generation Z learn a new skill and make money and go a different career path.
Yeah, totally agree. I think it's a great point.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to our future podcast. Me and Simi love doing this every week. A day late this time, but wasn't too late. And please leave us a subscribe and a like if you're on YouTube. And also check us out on the audio platforms. You can listen to us even if you're driving or walking or doing laundry. And with that, I'll say stay frosty. Thank you, everybody.
Let's do it. Stay frosty.